guys, Joel here, Police 10-8 Talk. Got Bosco with us today. This is primarily going to be Bosco on this video. He's been wanting to do a couple of little short videos on a couple of things. One, operating systems, and two, I'm going to cover some bullet weights and twist rates, because there seems to be some conflicting info floating around out there. So give us just a minute, we'll move in closer and go over some different types of operating systems with you. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, it's Officer Bosco. Welcome back excuse me, to Police 10-8 Talk. Basically what I'm going to be doing today is, this is actually going to be a two-parter video series we're going to do on basically how to give you a little more information on different types of rifles. Basically, say if you're at a police department, of course we mainly gear our stuff towards law enforcement, but this also goes for civilians as well. I'm just basically going to go over mainly 5.56 patrol rifles. This video is going to be mainly on the operating systems. We have three of the main operating systems you're going to deal with today. We do not have a short stroke gas piston, but I'll explain that as well when I go over the long stroke gas piston, because there's differences between the two. Basically, when you patrol, the first thing you got to remember, if you're a police officer, make sure you check with your police department to see if you are allowed to buy a rifle on your own, what you can buy, and basically go by your general orders or standard operating procedures. If you're a civilian, make sure you check with your local laws to see what's legal in your area and what's not. Okay, the first one that we're going to go over is actually the H&K. The H&K is what is known as a delayed roller delayed blowback. Okay, this does not have a gas tube on it. Essentially what it is, you have a bolt, and what happens is when it locks into place, these bolts come out, these two little rollers. There's rollers on both sides of the bolt. That actually is what locks it into the trunnion. That's the locking system for this, okay? And what happens when the gun is fired, the actual casing is used, basically operates as your actual bolt, okay? And when the gases are expunged or expelled from the cartridge, it pushes these rollers back in, it unlocks the bolt, and then it slams the bolt back forward under the recoil spring, which these have fairly generous recoil springs because they have to make this system work. But essentially what you have is these two rollers. See if I can get it to work. There we go. That's actually the best way to show it. Is these two rollers is what locks it into basically locks it into what we call the trunnion. This is what keeps it locked in when it's not being fired. Okay, now this system right here essentially is your H&K rifles. They're basically the only rifles nowadays that use it. So the roller delayed blowback is essentially used in anything that's an H&K, like my C93 essentially is an H&K clone. But basically this type of system is mainly used for H&K style rifles, like your Zenith arms, like I said, the C93s, anything a SETME, anything like that, or it's going to roll off this. Now the great thing about these systems is the fact that these were actually designed to shoot brass and steel case ammo, so you can shoot wolf and tull ammo in this all day long. You won't have any issues with it. It's a very reliable system. I love my C93. It's probably my favorite rifle I've ever owned, and I'm happy the fact I get to carry it on patrol. But it's a very effective system. It's over 60 years old, but it's very reliable. Okay, the next one we're going to be going to is the old trusty dusty AK-47. And AK-47s are basically use what we call long stroke gas piston. Okay, which you can see, this is the actual gas piston right here. And what happens is when a bullet is fired, the gases go up into a little tube on the end of the AK and push this bolt back. Okay, now long stroke gas pistons, mainly today, like the H&K, these are mainly your AK-47s. All AK-47s run off a long stroke gas piston. This is actually a Norinco in 5.56, which is a very rare gun. But basically it is a long stroke gas piston, just like the 7.62x39. Now you'll also hear today, which we don't have an example of, a short stroke gas piston. Okay, the main difference between that and a long stroke gas piston is basically the piston is shorter. Okay, it doesn't push the carrier, or doesn't push the bolt and the carrier back as far. And one thing usually with the short stroke gas pistons is the gas piston's usually not attached to the bolt. It's usually a separate system. which means like on a short stroke gas piston, this would not be attached to the bolt. Usually you'll have the bolt or the piston will be separate with a spring on it, and then the bolt will push into that, you know, when it goes back, it pushes into the bolt. But that's the main difference between a short stroke and a gas piston, which is like your FNFALs, or not your FNFALs, but your SCARs. Your SIGs are all going to short stroke gas piston. Most of the pistons nowadays that you're going to run to pistols or rifles are generally going to be short stroke gas piston, especially in 5.56. That's what they all seem to be going to, is the short stroke gas piston. But the long stroke gas piston is it's an excellent system. If anybody knows that AKs are pretty much reliable beyond belief. But this is a very, very, very reliable system. And like I said, it's mainly sticks to the AKs, just like the roller delayed sticks to the H&K style rifles. Okay, and then we're going to go over here to the M4 AR-15, whatever name you want to call it. Essentially what this is, it's called the direct impingement gas system, or sometimes just called the DIGS. And what happens is you have a tube, a hollow tube that's at the end of the rifle, and what it does is the gases come back and hit this, which is just called the carrier key. Okay, and that's what basically pushes the rifle back. Instead of having an actual physical bolt hitting it, okay, it just has gas. Okay, now there's pluses and minuses of this system, which anybody cleans an AR-15 know they get real dirty real quick, because the gases, the heat and the gases, because of the way it's designed, blow right straight into the bolt head. Okay, that makes it it can be a dirty system, especially if you clean, you know, if you shoot a lot of rounds through it, just because the gas and heat more or less goes straight into the bolt head. But basically the gas goes through here, and then when it happens, the excess gas is bled out through these ports right here, these gas holes. Okay, that's where the extra gas is bled out. Okay, and this is actually a piece called the carrier key. Okay, and one thing about these types of rifles, make sure your carrier keys are properly staked, which this one is not fully staked, but it's better than nothing. Basically what it is, you put the bolt in, and there's an instrument, a machine that you can do, a tool that actually crimps that, because you need a good seal on this, because if you don't have it and this carrier key comes loose, you're not going to get all the gas coming back, and you're going to get malfunctions. Okay, and like I said, there's a hollow tube in it. Now, the one thing you got to remember about these rifles too is there's also 3 different lengths of gas systems for these things. You have the carbine length, which is the one you're going to have the most issues with if you have it. You have a mid-length, and then you have a full size, which of course everybody shoots the carbines. The shorter gas systems on these, sometimes you will have issues with them, just because it was designed for a 20-inch barreled rifle, the original AR-15, and you can't have issues with that. But like I said, this system is basically like the other two, pretty much as the AR-15. It's the only system I'm aware of that basically uses it. It's the most popular system that uses like I said, it's called the direct impingement gas system. And like I said, that's mainly mainly with your AR-15s. Very reliable system. You know, AR-15s have been around since probably the late 60s. They're very reliable. The one thing I can tell you about any of these systems, especially AR-15, never clean it with brake cleaner. Never clean a rifle with brake cleaner. Do it one time, I guarantee you'll learn your lesson. Don't ever do it, especially an AR-15.
I did.
Yeah. Officer Joel's done it. I know other people that do it. Brake cleaner will get all the gunk off. The problem is that it will literally lock up your gun, and you're going to have a really hard time getting it unlocked. The problem is that kind of like a frying pan, when you like season a frying pan, you know, you don't realize it, but you still have a little bit of oil and stuff in your metal. You don't realize it. The problem is the brake cleaner, it takes all that out. Okay, and even though you cleaned, there's still a little bit in there. But brake cleaner does what it's designed to do, which literally takes everything off of it. And trust me, if you lock up an AR-15 bolt, you will remember it. I've seen people clean them with brake cleaner, and I cringe every time because I'm just waiting for it to lock up on them. Or if you do it, you better oil that bolt down real good. Okay, and also another thing about this system too is if you're going to run it all day, make sure you put some extra oil on and run this wet. Because if you're shooting a lot of rounds, this bolt works better. If you're going to be shooting a lot, the wetter it is. If you're going to be shooting a lot, the better. So anyways, this is basically just going over the brief 3 different systems. Like I said, the 4th one, the short stroke gas piston, we don't have. But this is Officer Bosco. What we're going to be going over in the next videos, we're going to be going over bullet weights, and we're also going to be going over twist rates. which when you're dealing with a 5.56 rifle is another important issue that a lot of people don't go over, because the type of barrel you use, type of twist you use, and the type of ammo you use with the 5.56 is very important. So just stand by, and you're going to have part 2 coming up soon. This is Officer Bosco. Remember to be safe. Watch your six.